You're listening to The Bible Guys, a podcast where a couple of friends talk about the Bible in fun and practical ways.
Good morning. Good morning.
I was hoping.
We talked the whole night through. Good morning. Good morning to you. Yes.
All right.
I love it. The company.
Man.
You're the percussion.
There we go.
Yes.
Yeah. Well, I was trying to do the tap dancing, but.
I see.
But percussion is good.
Well, I mean, isn't tap dancing a form of percussion?
Sure. Absolutely. Yes.
Okay. Well, hey, good morning, everybody.
I was just hoping, I was hoping beyond hope that today was the day you would sing to us.
Wishing upon a star.
Wishing upon a star.
That's so funny. Hey, well, we are the Bible Guys. We want to welcome you here, and we are starting off a segment called Guess the Word.
Yes, and so this is very similar to, if you know the game, the party game Taboo.
Yes.
It's very similar to that, where there is a main word that I want you to guess, but there are 5 words I cannot say to get you to guess that main word.
And if you happen to be watching on video instead of just listening, we are going to hopefully put the words that Jeff cannot say on the screen right here so that you can play at home.
That's right. And if you're playing at home and you're watching, every correct answer you get is worth a point.
Oh, 1 point?
If you're listening,
you're so
if you're
generous,
listening
Jeff.
on the podcast and you cannot see those words, every correct answer you get is worth 10,000 points. So
that would, you know what that would make me do? That would make me hit pause on the video and then go look it up on Spotify.
Okay.
Because I want to score more points.
You want more points?
Yeah.
There you go. Because you're a winner, Chris.
I'm a winner.
Okay, so here's the first one, right? I'm going to give Chris clues to see if he can guess the bold keyword. I'm not allowed to say any of the italicized words on my sheet here.
Doggone it, people like me. Okay, go ahead.
They do. Okay. It's the noise that a tom makes to get the attention of a hen.
That a what makes?
A tom makes to get the attention of a hen.
Cluck?
Ooh, almost. It's a different
tom.
bird.
What's?
Yes.
Oh, it's a thing. Gobble.
Gobble. There you go. Correct.
Okay.
I wasn't allowed to say eat, turkey, food, gulp, or devour.
What the heck is a tom?
That's the male turkey.
So you know this because you're a hunter?
I
Or
thought people knew that.
This?
Yeah, I thought people knew that.
Is that a hunting thing?
When you were a kid, didn't you have to make turkey things, outline your hand, make a turkey, and
you know what they called it? You know what they called it? Turkeys.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, I guess.
Maybe
so.
I
grew up on on a homestead, and we had. I don't know. I just thought everybody knew that a tom is the male
I'm
turkey.
just wondering if it's a hunting thing.
So a male turkey that is not old enough to breed yet. He doesn't have a big beard yet.
Yeah.
Like that. He's called a Jake. And then when he's able to breed, he grows a longer beard and he's called a tom.
You could have threatened me with death and I wouldn't have known that. I couldn't have come up with that answer.
Congratulations. You got to gobble. That was the important thing.
Because I was like cluck and you were a different bird. And I was like, what are you talking about? I was like, oh, it's a Thanksgiving thing.
Yeah.
Gotcha.
I was just in the woods a couple weeks ago and the turkeys were gobbling like crazy around us. Yeah, it was really neat. Okay. This next one is when the king sits down at his giant table, he's sitting down for a
feast.
Feast. That is correct. Nice. I wasn't allowed to say Thanksgiving, food, eat, banquet, or famine.
Oh, wow.
Okay. These people were the original
Pilgrims.
Europeans that came to America. You were correct. Pilgrims. Progress, Plymouth, Mayflower, Indians, and travelers. Those are the words I was not allowed to use.
Wow.
Yeah, that was a tough one. Okay, this one's difficult.
Okay.
So, when you have meat...
Turkey.
No. When you have meat cooking... Oh, I'm not allowed to say cook.
Oh. Okay, try to get before you give me the clues. Go ahead.
When you have meat in the oven...
Okay.
And you don't want it to dry out...
Okay.
You pull it out and you put more liquid on it.
Baste it.
There you go. Yes.
Yes.
I wasn't allowed to say cook. I just lost 10,000 points.
You lost 10,000 points.
Yeah. Oh, wait a minute. I'm reading it. So it's only 1 point.
Oh, that's true. That's true. And we're on video.
Yeah, there we go. I'm on video.
Ourselves.
Yeah, there we go. I saw myself on video.
Right.
Excellent.
Okay,
and here's the last one.
Okay.
Those original Europeans arrived in the...
United States.
No. What did they ride on?
Horses.
No, when they came across the water.
Mayflower.
There you go, the Mayflower.
You said ride on.
Yes. Well, I couldn't say ship, pilgrims, flower, Atlantic, or voyage.
Oh, you could have said sail.
Sailed. Oh, I could have said sailed. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
I'm like, horses. You're like, not across the water. Goofball. Dum-dum.
Okay. There you go. Gobble, feast, pilgrims, based, and Mayflower were the words.
Okay.
Congratulations, Chris.
Yes.
And I'm sorry for blowing it on based.
Yeah, well, I've done that a time or two as well.
Yes. Okay.
Oh,
Riveting segment.
Riveting. Everybody is
segment.
on the edge of their seat.
And I'm sure we have a few of our listeners that have 10,000 points. Or 5,000 points.
Congratulations to them.
50,000. We gave 10,000 points apiece. Yeah, 50,000. I bet you we got people who got 50,000 points.
You think so?
Yeah. Our viewers, somebody got 5. Congratulations.
Somebody's in Tanzania right now. They're like, 50,000.
Yeah, 50,000. How do I exchange these in? Yep.
It's like Chuck E. Cheese.
That's right.
You
used to work at Chuck E. Cheese.
Yeah, you bring all the tickets in, and then you get a frisbee.
Exactly. I remember being so disappointed after having what I thought was a gajillion tickets. And you go up and go, okay, here's the section that you can pick from. I'm like, I want that TV. Nope, you get these.
Well, now in Dave & Buster's.
You get this top.
Yeah, in Dave & Buster's, which is an adult Chuck E. Cheese. You build it up on that card, and it feels like forever. You could just even save the card. And they're like, you have 14,000 points. You're like, what? Yeah. And you walk in there and you're like, and you look at the top shelf and it says it's like 300,000 points. And you're like, what?
Right. Okay, so for your 14,000, you can order out of this box right here. You can get this Pez dispenser, or you can get this pen with the squiggly head on it.
Yeah, which includes the chiclets, just not including the erasers.
Yep. Okay, so anyways.
That's a movie quote.
Oh, really?
1979.
Oh, wow.
It is Steve
Goonies?
Martin in The Jerk.
The Jerk.
When he says, step right up and win some crap. That's what he says.
Oh, no. I went and saw Steve Martin and Martin Short at the Fox Theater a couple weeks ago.
What?
It was amazing.
Oh, my goodness. I can't believe it. They came and went, and I didn't even realize they were here.
Bonnie and I sat like on the 8th row in the center.
Okay.
It was amazing.
There has never been a time where you have ever attended anything where I've been more jealous. Ever.
They were hysterical. So you got these two guys, Steve Martin's 79, Martin Short's 74. The energy, the humor, the physical comedy that they did for 2 hours was unbelievable.
Are they still here?
No, they were only here for 2 nights.
I am angry at myself.
Well, they told me, they said, Marty says, hey, don't tell Zarbaugh we're here.
Is that what he said?
I was like, oh, okay, Marty.
Yeah, Marty and I go back a ways. All the way back to inner space.
Yeah. He said, and then Steve Martin had to say, well, the last time, it just got weird. I said, okay, I won't tell Zarbaugh that you guys are here. So it was a secret. That's only like 10,000 other people knew that they were here.
And that'll be the last time he's on tour, I'm sure.
I don't know. Well, they're touring every year. So here we go. Anyways.
I would consider, by the way, traveling to another city. I would drive all the way to Chicago to see them.
Well, they're on a tour.
I can't believe I missed them.
Yeah. Okay.
I'm so angry.
Sorry about that. Okay, so Proverbs chapter 8. This is now, Solomon is writing.
By the way, Jeff.
As if wisdom is talking.
You were so clever in giving those answers. Mm-hmm. And so, but not as clever as Solomon is, who was about to give us advice.
Oh, there you go.
Yes.
Man, that was a good one, Chris.
Thank you.
Good transition.
I promised the listeners.
So clever. Because the reason why it's clever is because he's writing as if wisdom is speaking to his children. Sometimes.
Which is clever on top of cleverness.
It's super clever. Clever. It's cleverly clever.
Yes.
Mm-hmm. So sometimes kids can't hear their parents' voice. It just sounds like Charlie Brown's teacher. Right? Right? But isn't it amazing that if a kid has a coach or a teacher or somebody that they really like, all of a sudden that coach or teacher can say the same thing mom and dad said.
Yeah.
And now all of a sudden it's the smartest thing they've ever heard in their life.
Right.
So Solomon is kind of using that ploy. He's using a third person. He's using wisdom itself to speak to his children. And it's very clever, which is just a wise thing for moms and dads to get some good adult allies that you can trust, get a good youth pastor, get good coaches, and align with them and say, hey, I need you. My son really likes you. Make sure you reinforce this idea that we're working on at home,
No doubt.
And so anyways, this is what happens. So he says, In Proverbs chapter 8, listen as wisdom calls out. Hear as understanding raises her voice. On the hilltop along the road, she takes her stand at the crossroads, by the gates at the entrance to the town. On the road leading in, she cries aloud, I call to you, to all of you. I raise my voice to all people. You simple people, use good judgment. You foolish people, show some understanding. Listen to me, for I have important things to tell you. Everything I say is right, for I speak the truth and detest every kind of deception. My advice is wholesome. There is nothing devious or crooked in it. My words are plain to anyone with understanding, clear to those with knowledge. Choose my instruction rather than silver, and knowledge rather than pure gold. For wisdom is far more valuable than rubies. Nothing you desire can compare with it. I, wisdom, live together with good judgment. I know where to discover knowledge and discernment. All who fear the Lord will hate evil. Therefore I hate pride and arrogance, corruption and perverse speech. Common sense and success belong to me. Insight and strength are mine. Because of me, kings reign and rulers make just decrees. Rulers lead with my help and nobles make righteous judgments. I love all who love me. Those who search will surely find me. I have riches and honor as well as enduring wealth and justice. My gifts are better than gold, even the purest gold, and my wages are better than sterling silver. I walk in righteousness and paths of justice. Those who love me inherit wealth. I will find their treasuries. I will fill their treasuries. The Lord formed me from the beginning before he created anything else. I was appointed in ages past at the very first before the earth began. I was born before the oceans were created, before the springs bubbled forth their waters, before the mountains were formed, before the hills I was born. Before he had made the earth and fields and the first handfuls of soil. I was there when he established the heavens and when he drew the horizon on the oceans. I was there when he set the clouds above and when he established springs deep in the earth. I was there when he set the limits of the seas so they would not spread beyond their boundaries. And when he marked off the earth's foundations, I was the architect at his side. I was his constant delight, rejoicing always in his presence. And how happy I was with the world he created, how I rejoiced with the human family. And so, my children, listen to me, for all who follow my ways are joyful. Listen to my instruction and be wise. Don't ignore it. Joyful are those who listen to me, watching for me daily at my gates, waiting for me outside my home. For whoever finds me finds life and receives favor from the Lord. But those who miss me injure themselves. All who hate me love death.
Wow. When I think of wisdom, and I've often, been pretty fascinated that Solomon talks about wisdom from the standpoint that it's a she. Mm-hmm. But when I think of wisdom in my mind, I always think of this chapter. I've always been fascinated with the visual aids of this ancient being who was there before the worlds began, which of course is God. God is the one right. who existed before the earth was formed. Right. God is the one who existed from all eternity past, but God had wisdom. Mm-hmm. So
God is wisdom.
God is wisdom, of course. Yes, of course. And he has wisdom and his wisdom, right? He has love and his love. But anyway, but wisdom, talking as a person, says, I was here long before, the earth was created. All of a sudden, you try to picture wisdom as this ancient being, and all of a sudden now you think, okay, if wisdom is obtainable, because obviously it is, right? Right. And he's saying, obtain it. Obtain me, and guess what? I'm worth more than gold and rubies and sterling silver, and guess what? I've been around. It makes you feel like you're tapping into this magical thing, but then you have to think about it like that's the same with God in us, right? Right. Yeah. Have you ever heard Francis Chan? One time gave a message, and he talked about how he's like, man, when I get to heaven, he goes, I'm going to go up to Moses, and I'm going to say to Moses, man, tell me what it was like. What was it like to see and talk to God in the form of a burning bush? That must have been incredible. And Moses is going to look back at you and say, yeah, it was really cool, but let me ask you a question. What was it like to have God inside of you? Mm-hmm. Like the power of God within you, to be able to tap into the power of Christ who lived inside of you. Because let me tell you something, I didn't have that. And I remember thinking like, okay, that's a cool thought.
Right.
And so, I get fascinated with this whole ancient being before the foundations of the world. I'm thinking, oh, wait, That's what we have every day.
That's God.
That's God in us, right?
Yeah.
We have access to God's wisdom. Isn't that crazy?
And he's establishing the fact that wisdom is not situational and it's not cultural. Right? That it predates humanity. It predates godly wisdom.
That's right.
Is not a situational thing to go, oh, well, back in old-fashioned times, that's what they believed. But now...
Well, that's a really good point, because people say certain values are outdated in culture today. Right?
So God's wisdom it transcends all cultures and all ages. I think that's what I'm trying to say. So sure, there are cultural things. Should we wear robes or should we wear pants? Right, that's a cultural thing. That's not a wisdom thing.
I have the answer: pants.
Yeah, I don't know if it's really hot. Maybe that robe. We get back to that robe again. But some of those things. Would you prefer hummus or potato or French fries? Right. That's just a cultural thing.
Yeah.
And so sure, those things change. But when it comes to the wisdom of the ages, how to live your life, how to manage money, how to navigate relationships, how the idea that integrity and right living and honesty will always build a society, and corruption and violence and evil will always tear down a society. Those things, those are pre-established before the foundation of the world, and they don't change. It's not like, oh, that's an old-fashioned idea. It doesn't. I don't know why, but I just read a thing here recently. There's over 100,000 laws in America, and yet it seems like everybody who runs for office has a new law they want to bring. Is that what we need? We need more laws, really? And it's kind of the same way with regard to every generation thinks that they're wiser than the last generation. And while they may have more information or while they have more technology, I don't know that every generation is more wise. Right? And so getting back to those foundational ideas of how to live, I think that's one of the reasons why he highlights so long that wisdom existed before anything else did.
Yeah. And I love how Solomon is describing how to recognize good wisdom.
Yeah.
Right? And so he says, "For I speak the truth and detest every kind of deception." So if you're wondering whether or not, when you hear a piece of advice, whether it's wisdom, then ask yourself, okay, is this other piece of advice that my friend is giving me, does it involve any type of deception?
Right.
Because I mean, that is a telling thing. Sometimes we think because something is clever,
right,
that maybe it's wisdom. And just because it's clever, if it involves deception of any kind, then it's definitely not wholesome.
That's right.
Because he said, "My advice is wholesome," the very next verse in verse 8, "and there's nothing devious or crooked in it. My words," and then listen to this, "my words are plain to anyone with understanding, clear to those with knowledge."
Yeah.
So in other words, anybody who has basic understanding can recognize wisdom, is what he's saying. So I think it's, have you ever been talking with somebody and somebody would tell you, you already know the right thing to do? You probably said that to somebody too,
sure,
right?
Absolutely.
Like you already know the right answer.
Yeah.
Right. I'm just here to remind you.
Right.
And that's really what Solomon is saying. Solomon is saying, like, you can recognize wisdom as soon as you hear it. You already know the right thing.
Right. Well, so I'm reminded in that verse 9, my words are plain to anyone with understanding. I'm reminded there's another proverb where Solomon says, in a multitude of words, there's no shortage of sin. And it makes me think of our extraordinarily litigious society today. My wife and I just closed on a new home, and we signed how many gajillion documents?
Oh, yeah.
Right? Most of the documents I signed were full of so many words that created so many loopholes for the lending agency to get out of the situation, to give them more control and take control away from me. That's most of it. Right. Or to where nobody else is responsible except me for all these things, right?
Right.
The more words it takes to get a thing done, the less likely it is that it has integrity in it.
Right.
Right. So I had a friend, we were going to write up a contract to do a project with somebody. And so I wrote up an MOU, and it had like 8 big ideas. And then we refined it a little bit, but it was 8 things that we were agreeing to work on. And then somebody goes, "Oh, that needs to go to the attorneys. The attorneys need to look at it." The attorneys came back, and what was 1 page, and very crystal clear, they came back with 18 pages. 18! 1 page, 18 pages.
Wow.
So then, I'm a little bit of a lawyer in my head. I argue words. We joke about that. I've got this thing go, why would I say this thing in 4 sentences when I could have said it in 1 sentence, right?
Right.
So I started critiquing it. The lawyer got a little upset with me, and I said, don't these 3 paragraphs say the same thing as this 1 sentence? And he goes, yes, but this gives you more outs. I said, so I'm writing this for loopholes for me, as opposed to 2 people having some integrity and coming in and seeing the plain words. I said, so if I don't have your 3 paragraphs and I only have that 1 sentence, are you saying I can't protect myself with that 1 sentence? And he goes, no, it means the same thing. I said, well, then why do we need to write? And so I refused the 18-page document because more words just creates more fights. Let's be simpler and make sure that we're in clarity. I'm not saying you shouldn't sign contracts. I'm not saying that you shouldn't protect yourself. But because not everybody's honest in integrity. But if you're working with somebody that has honesty and integrity, I think simply written words, the more words somebody else puts on a page, the more diligent you have to be to read and understand those words. That's what I'm trying to say. Yeah. Because usually somebody's trying to shoot a move with the more words they have on there.
Well, when Apple comes out with an update and it says that you can't download this new software without signing. Yeah. And it says read and sign, and you're literally going woof, 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 woof. And you literally have to scroll the whole page like 9 times.
Right. And we own you and your children, and right. Everything that you think now is our property.
So what percentage of the population who sign it read it?
They don't.
Nobody does.
Not many people, right?
Yeah, there may be a dozen people in the world that actually sit down and read that. Because my guess is if you read it and you actually understand it, you probably wouldn't sign it.
There was a time when a man's word was his bond, when a handshake would really get business done. And 2 men standing. My dad grew up, it's so funny. I think of old-time business being done over the pickle barrel because there was a general store.
Pickle barrel?
Yeah, well, there was a general store in our community. That all the old farmers in our community would go down, and they had they made sandwiches behind the counter, and there was a general store, and they had 2 pickle barrels that had checkers boards on the thing. The men would sit around, play checkers, and do business, and it was like a daily thing. And they would work it out. Hey, so you plant the hay this year, and we'll plant the alfalfa. He's going to raise the cows, and they're going to plant the corn. And they would kind of work out all of this, and everything would be done by a handshake. Yeah, sure, I'll loan you my tractor, and in the meantime, I'm going to need to borrow your hay baler, right? And they would just do everything with a handshake, and it's because they trusted each other. They went to church together. They knew each other well. They didn't take advantage of each other, and they understood that society requires that people keep their word. And then we get into a litigious society where the expectation, the longer the contracts are, the less society believes that keeping our word is essential, right? As a matter of fact, the reality is you sign those contracts, and I signed a lease on a car a while back, and the guy behind the counter, he said, these things aren't worth the paper they're written on. You can get out of it, so can we. Well, then why did I just sign 22 pages? Right? It's because we're currently living in a society that doesn't believe in the value of the word. And I just think that there's something to that godly men and women should be people of their word. You say a thing, you should follow through on that thing.
Well, sure.
Right?
Yeah, well, I mean, James says, let your yes be yes and your no be no.
Yeah, exactly. That's what godly people do. That's kind of the advice he's giving here, is be really careful if people use too many words or whatever. So, yeah,
that's great. All right. Well, hey, wisdom is the essence of who God is.
Yeah.
Right?
Absolutely.
So, and let's recognize it. And when we see it, let's hang on to it more than we crave gold or riches.
Wisdom is far more valuable than rubies. Nothing you desire can compare with it.
That's awesome. All right. Well, that's a good wrap up. And we will see you next time, hopefully on the Bible Guys.